Hello, film fans. Welcome to the Film vs. Film podcast. My name is Martin Harries, your host. I'm a filmmaker on occasion, but mainly can't stop yapping about movies. On this podcast, every episode I pick a topic from a film that's coming out at the cinema or on streaming. I pick a favourite film from that topic and battle it out against a guest to decide which film will become the greatest film of all time. If you enjoy this podcast, please leave us a 5-star review and subscribe. Please enjoy part 1. In space and Mars, no one can hear you podcast.
That was awful. Alright, cool. Carry on. Yeah, and we're back.
And we're back. Right, back from space for 20 seconds.
Except for me. You'll hear me anywhere.
Yeah, Boaz can obviously scream in Space and Mars. This week, as Stowaway is out on Netflix, we'll be talking space films. And as ever, you've heard him already, I'm joined by the Mr. Encyclopedia man, that is Mr. Boaz Dix. How are you?
I'm fine, man. Let's do this thing.
Good. Right, my pick then, I think when we decided to do space films, there was literally one film in my mind, and that was the 1979 classic Ridley Scott's Alien. I picked this one mainly because I think this is probably one of the best film experiences I've had in my life, because as a kid, a lot of my friends, that we did sleepover birthday parties, and we always used to do watch R-rated action films or scary films. I remember when I went to one of my friends' house, we watched Die Hard when we were 12, and we weren't allowed to say yippee-ki-yay motherfucker. We were only allowed to say yippee-ki-yay mother flubber or something like that.
I don't think Flubber would have approved.
No. But in my one, I was like, yeah, let's watch Alien. That looks amazing. Yeah, and we were 11, 12, 13, something like that, really young. And my dad had to phone everyone's parents to say, is it all right if we watch Alien, And then when, I told everyone that we were going to watch this film, this really scary film, literally everyone was like, nah, screw that. Apart from one friend who stayed with me downstairs to watch Alien, but everyone else went into my bedroom, and I had one of those old TVs with a VCR player in the TV, and they decided to watch The Emperor's New Groove instead.
Well, that's amazing.
So, but yeah, it was such a great experience because I didn't know who Ridley Scott was. I didn't know anything about the film. Didn't see any trailers. I didn't know what an exomorph was. I didn't know who Sigourney Weaver was. I didn't know who any of the actors was, and it was just an incredible ride, really. So it really sticks with me, that first viewing. Have you had an experience
I was going to say,
or?
I have with a film that I probably could have picked here. I should have picked this one because you've actually reminded me. There was so I've never watched Alien or most of the Alien films. I do, obviously. Yeah, shame. I'll strip naked. You just whip me down the streets. Shame. So yeah, no, I never watched that. But there was this one film, Event Horizon. Have you ever watched that? Yeah. So that's the closest I have to that kind of experience.
Do you see?
Yeah. No, that kind of scared the hell out of me. I think it was I think it was the only horror. I think it was the first horror film I watched on my own. And I was fairly young. I think I was just, I don't know, I was home alone, I think, just going through old VHS tapes, films I haven't watched. I was like, oh, okay, this looks like I don't know, maybe it's an action film, I don't know. So I started watching that, and that scared the hell out of me, because, I was like, Sam Neill, from Jurassic Park, he's going to be the good guy. And yeah, that was pretty horrific, yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, so I think that was nobody talks about Event Horizon, loads of people, it hasn't had a sequel.
No.
I should have maybe picked that, because, that would have been an interesting thing.
That's kind of a cult classic now. Yeah, it didn't do very well.
Yeah, I never heard of it at the time. Yeah, that scared the hell out of me. I would like to do a review of that at some point.
Yeah, so Alien, what happens in Alien? So the crew of the Nostromo are woken up from their like hypersleep by the artificial intelligence computer called Mother, and they think they've arrived back from Earth because the Nostromo is kind of like this big like tug ship kind of thing carrying like raw materials, ores and things. But no, they find a signal of like organic life could be on a particular planet, and then they go down. The three of them, Kane, Lambert, and Dallas, go down onto this planet, and they find this alien ship. And Kane like finds these fields of eggs, and Kane gets a facehugger on his face.
That's where they tend to go.
They bring him back.
It'd be more embarrassing if it went onto his crotch.
Then an alien pops out of his chest, and it basically turns into a horror survival slasher film from there on. So what did you make of this then? Like, first reactions if you've not seen this before, Boaz?
Well, I mean, because it's such a cult classic and because it's so referenced, I know about the chest buster scene. I think it's one of the few scenes I 100% know. I know it's going to happen, and I know what face huggers are.
Yeah.
So that kind of spoils it, but the build up to it is pretty amazing. Like, it does take its time with like easing you into how creepy it is. Yeah, man, it just keeps going. It's I quite like that, actually. I quite like that because I knew the scene was coming. I didn't know exactly when it was coming. Oh, what was it? The facehugger itself, when they're trying to get it off, and anything they try, and it just like tightens. So they're I thought that was cool.
Like the tail tightens around
Kane's
Kane's neck. That was cool.
And they decide to like cut off one of its limbs, and acid goes straight through the ship. Like, and I like that scene of like, go to the below, go to the deck below, and it's slipping through that. Go to the next one, Try and make sure it doesn't, do permanent damage to the ship. I thought that was pretty nice.
I love that scene when like Dallas takes Brett's pen, and he just like, I don't know, fiddles with the acid or whatever with his pen, and like, and he gives it back to Brett, and he's like, oh, you can have your pen back now. And Brett's like, yeah, I don't want it now. It's not going to work.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah, I do like Harry Dean Stanton in this film. Right, let's go straight on to directing then, as always. I think what I find actually the greatest aspect of this film actually is the production design and like the design of the alien itself. It's just really incredible by Michael Seymour. The level of detail that's gone into the Nostromo is amazing. Like every frame, there's something that looks functional, practical, and lived in. The design of the alien ship is incredible too by H.R. Geiger. This kind of black organic material that's all like shiny and wet, it seems.
Yeah, I do find it is a very interesting look at the ship, the design of the ship, the interior, because essentially the first time you really get to see the ship is like the white, of their sleeping pods. And that looks like really futuristic, and it's kind of the stuff you expect. But the rest of the ship, as you said, is just very practical. It's not there to look pretty. It's all there to just fulfill a function. And it looks actually kind of, I don't know, it kind of helps it. It's like, it's a character of its own. It's kind of, do you know what I mean? Like strange and sort of eerie. It makes it kind of more eerie. You see like exposed wires and pipes and, it's just, it's there to just fulfill a function. None of this stuff is hidden or whatever. And it makes it great because the creature, like this place is all black, it's dirty, it's dank. There's quite a lot of stuff just around. Just how the creature can kind of sort of, because he can't shapeshift or like disappear, but the design of the creature is he looks horrible, black, sleek. He kind of just blends into the background. You can just totally believe how he could just disappear into this, mess of a ship,
Yeah, obviously designed by H.R. Geiger. It took a lot of convincing from Ridley Scott, to use Geiger's work to the producers, because his initial designs were very like sexualized.
What, the xenomorph in a bikini or something?
No, well, he's basically got a penis head. So.
Okay. What was the facehugger more vaginal in the original? Because it is pretty damn vaginal.
Probably, I don't know. because obviously his designs before the film started were very sexualized, and if you notice, as they walk into the ship, it's basically the shape of a vagina. Yeah, so they toned a lot of that stuff down, you know. When they're like exploring the alien ship, I do like the little push-ins they do on the engineer. Obviously, the guy in the chair is called an engineer from Prometheus. And like Dallas is like, you know, shining his helmet torch on the engineer, and then there's a nice push in, and then when he leaves, it's kind of like doused in darkness and just a tiny little bit of light left, and it's kind of nice and creepy there. You're just like, oh, who is this dead guy in the chair? It's just like, this whole place just not feel good at all. Please leave immediately.
Actually, like, I think it's more effective if you kind of separate it with the extended mythology that they've made, I suppose, and you just take it as this thing is enormous, this elephant-like monster or whatever, alien, and it's been dead for a while, and probably what killed it is on this ship, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, we really shouldn't be here, you know? Like an advanced alien creature died trying to, you know...
The facehugger jumping out of the egg onto Kane.
I thought that made me jump. Yeah, that was pretty cool. I did think, how's it going to get into his helmet? When they got him, and it's like it's basically cracked his helmet. I thought that was amazing. Like, take it off, and it's just covered his face. I do also like how Ripley is not stupid. She's like, she is the most intelligent character, because even it's like, they've got him, the captain, and, this guy who's the facehugger. I'm like, oh, they're obviously going to let him in. But then Ripley was like, no, protocol. He could be infected with something. No, you guys are staying put. You're not coming in the rest of the ship. And you're like, yeah, you're really clever. If everybody listened to you, they would have survived,
This whole thing wouldn't have worked. But I do like the Kane attack, from the facehugger. It's just really simply, brilliantly directed by Ridley Scott. You just get like a slow creep forward towards the egg, and just a little tilt down to see what's inside. And then just a few like really quick cuts of the facehugger coming out. It's just really effective. That I don't think you need to do anything terribly clever there to make that really effective. It's really interesting, actually, how the egg was made. Like on the inside, that it was made of like cattle hearts and stomachs, and like the cord is made of sheep's intestines. Yeah, but they got all that stuff from a local butcher, apparently.
But that was a good day for him.
Yeah, and if you notice, when there's a few close-ups on the egg, did you notice there's like a few bubbling bits on the egg before it opens? As if it's like dripping upwards. They basically stuck an egg up. Well, they hung it from the ceiling so they could get the dripping egg effect, which is quite cool. They spun the camera around, had it upside down to get that effect. I thought that was really, really interesting, actually. You barely even notice that detail, but the fact that they go to those sort of lengths to capture such a small detail is amazing. And the chestburster scene is, so iconic now. And I mean, it didn't scare me that much, certainly on the rewatch, because it's so iconic. But I seem to remember it did freak me out quite a lot at the time, And obviously there's the famous story that, the cast didn't really know what was going to happen when Kane was on the table. That's not entirely true. Apparently the Tom Selleck, who plays Dallas, did know what was going to happen. Because he was like in script meetings before, so he wanted to learn like the filmmaking process, so he did know. And apparently but everyone else didn't know, but they kind of knew something dramatic was going to happen, because there was like glass screens put up and all the crew were wearing raincoats. It was like, so it's going to happen. Cool. But it's interesting the way it was done as well, because like from the shoulders down, that's when Kane is on the table, he's all fake. Like there are loads of people under the table like operating his legs and the bottom half of his torso, as some guy just pushes the alien through and lets off all the blood. The rest of John Hurt is under the table, obviously, and he's just acting with his arms and head. So I thought that was really, really clever. I think you can, if you watch really closely, you can kind of see the joins a little bit from where John Hurt ends and where the fake body starts, But That's only if you're being like ridiculously picky.
Yeah, no, I didn't notice too much. I would say the only like prosthetic I really noticed, which is kind of distracting, it was kind of a shame, but it's of the time, I suppose, was Ash, when they reactivate his head. Like, you can tell, like, it's a different head.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You can a little
bit.
bit.
I mean, the prosthetic head doesn't look exactly like him, and then, it switches to him alive.
That's only if you're looking quite closely, but as a teenage, like a 12-year-old, you're like, it's still fucking scary.
I think Ash he's definitely a hell of a creepy character. I really liked him because obviously he knows what's going on. In fact, he's caused all this to happen. He knows what would happen. He's there to actually collect the specimen. And he's a robot, it's a hell of a twist.
Any other directional scenes you like?
So when I was talking about Ash, I like when he like attacked, Ripley, where she's worked out that the company that they work for actually knew about this creature, and that the crew are expendable. It only matters to like take the creature, and that Ash knew this. This was like his directive. It's kind of weird because I like where he throws her on the bed. Well, he's knocked her out. He beats the crap out of her and then throws her on the bed. It's just great physical acting. He looks quite conflicted, like, about killing her. You could tell he's like on his face. It's like,
Yeah.
And also all these pictures. I'm not exactly sure whose bed it is, but I'm starting to kind of wager it might be his, because there's like a load of brunettes, like naked brunettes. In my mind, I'm thinking maybe he has a kind of thing for her, even though it's like proven that he's a robot or something. Yeah.
Maybe.
I just kind of like that. I was just like insinuating little details.
Yeah, never really thought about that before.
Yeah, it's just like a theory that came to my mind because I'm like, it's just kind of a weird detail to have in the background. So I was like, doesn't mean something like Chekhov's gun sort of thing. And then the struggle of him trying to kill her with like a newspaper,
John Wick style.
yeah, John Wick style. And you're like, this is crazy. And then the guys come and help her and knock his head off, and that's pretty sketchy. It's like, yeah, he's a robot.
Yeah. I love that shot actually just before Ash attacks. It's like kind of a nice close up on Ian Holm who plays Ash.
Yeah,
and you see like the white substance just go down his temple.
Going down his temple, and you're like, there's something wrong right here.
And it's just got a really like creepy look on his face, and then he does this weird like shrug just before he like attacks Ripley, and it's just like he's saying, "Yeah, sorry, I can't really control what's about to happen. I don't really understand what's going on now. My directive orders are kind of taking over."
That's what I really like about the struggle. It's just the physical acting and the facial expression of like, I don't really want to do this, but he's a machine and he's programmed to just kill her.
And I like how he's just like spinning out of control. He just lets his body just go crazy, and it doesn't matter if he's just hitting things or hitting the other actors. It's up to the other actors just to like adapt to what he's doing. It's a really great performance for Ian Holm.
I would say, like, camera-wise as well, like, a lot of close-ups. A lot of, like, face-on close-ups. To me, I think that kind of, like, it helps with the sort of claustrophobic feel of the film. And, like, they're really close to this creature that could just be anyone.
And the ship is not spacious at all. It's not.
It does seem like exactly. It's not
roomy.
Very claustrophobic feeling of the set, and then made even worse by the constant uses of getting up into people's grills, where you're like, oh, it's a bit uncomfortable.
Yeah, and I think the moment where the production design and the sound and the lighting all come together is fairly near the end, when Ripley is on her own. And she's got like Jones, and she goes around the corridor, and like there's just strobe lighting and the alarms going off, just everything being thrown at the screen. And she goes around the corner and she just gets a glimpse of the alien. And when you get that cut to the alien just really briefly, the music kicks in slightly, and then like the cutting of the alien just coming round the corner, and then you get that added suspense with all the cutting and the camera work, as well as like the atmosphere of the production design. It just creates incredible tension in that moment. It's just quite remarkable that. Yeah, I mean, every time I watch that, I just get incredibly tense. I'm like, oh my God, I've seen this a million times, but it's still freaking me out.
It's like kept going to her, and the desperation in her face is like, please die, for God's sake.
And also, one thing that kind of does bother me a little bit is they don't give Kane much dignity when he dies. They just like fling him out of space, like not like nice and slow, it's just like spinning out of control as he gets flown into space. I was like, all right, bloody hell. He's your first officer. And he just go, patoing. Anyway.
Yeah. He should have been careful. That's what he gets.
I do like the last scene as well, where Ripley is in the shuttle after the Nostromo blows up and discovers the alien is stowed away, basically taking a nap in the wall. That's how I see it. That scene the first time really scared the shit out of me. I remember feeling ridiculously tense as the alien slowly coming out of the wall is incredibly well directed. And then in the rewatch, it's interesting because there's a wide shot of Ripley going towards that wall and doing something, I'm not sure what, but you can see the alien head in the wall in the wide shot. And then when you get closer to the in the close-up shot, you can see the head still, and you're just waiting for the head to move. When's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? But it's not the head. I completely forgot. It's he brings his hand out first. And I was like, shit. And then Chris next to me, my brother, was like, what the hell are you doing? I was like, sorry, I forgot. This film just keeps freaking me out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I shouted, fuck me, And Chris was just like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I don't think the xenomorph would be a gentle lover, so don't shout fuck me to it.
No.
No. There's so much tension of trying to get to the pod, blow up the ship. She's got very limited time. Boom. Explodes out of the woods. And then I think it's an interesting time to stop the creepy music. She's stripped down. She's beautiful. She's got her white undergarments. It seems to be more space in this little tube. This little thing.
Sure.
And you've got some mid shots and wide shots, and I think that's the perfect place of, oh yeah, no shit, the alien's still alive, because it completely gets you completely at ease. This is the opposite of the rest of the film. The rest of the film was all really close, really intense, not much room, freaky music all the time, and then it's oh, it's fine. Oh, no shit, there's an alien. I think that makes the ending very, very effective,
But Ripley is basically just provoking it, though, with the airburst. I'm like, he's just trying to take a nap, really. I'm just like, if you get to the next ship, you just let him out.
The next ship? She's got weeks. She's got weeks. Whatever. She even says, I've got 6 weeks till I get to the next ship. She's going to chill for 6 weeks.
Yeah, but the alien's just taking a nap. He's just eating, I don't know, 6 other people. He needs to let those people digest.
Well,
he ain't going to harm her.
Good God. So when it tries to wake up, does she sing it a lullaby, try and get it back to sleep? Get him some crisps? No, here you go. That's ridiculous.
But do you know what I mean? He wasn't doing anything.
Yeah.
Just trying to sleep.
Leave him alone. Kill a thing while it's trying to sleep.
Yeah. So have you got a favourite shot or a favourite scene? Favourite
death scene? I would say actually kind of maybe my favourite death scene is the old guy looking for the cat. Yeah, Brett.
Oh, Brett, yeah. Played by Harry Dean Stanton, yeah. That's my favourite as well, yeah.
Just really well set up. He let the cat go. It's oh, it's just a cat. Well, you got to go and collect it because it's in the way. And then it's just so tense when he gets to the cat, and then the cat's still freaking out, and he's like, come on, there's nothing wrong. And he doesn't see it, but the fucking thing drops down behind him. And the cat's like, ugh. Yeah. And it's just so good. Just the build up to that was so good.
Yeah, that's my kind of favourite scene as well, because it very much takes its time, as Brett just wanders into this, I guess you would call it some sort of hangar bay, and he's letting the water drop on his face, and you get the good fake out of Jones running out, which is a kind of a little good scare there. You think, oh, it's fine now. But yeah, it just takes its time. A lot of wide shots, and then, as you said, the alien drops down, and there's an incredible shot, an incredible camera shot where the camera tracks the alien's head coming up to stand upright just before the double mouth or whatever kills him. I really love that shot, really. And apparently they used shredded condoms to as the tendons in the jaw.
Hopefully not used ones.
It's even more sexualized in this film,
That's pretty nasty.
And all the smoke and all the drooling and that. It's just really effective. So, score, Boaz, what are you going for?
Yeah. I think I'll go
directing?
pretty high. I'm going to go 9.
Certainly, this is, in my opinion, a masterpiece in horror science fiction directing. Not too complicated, not too simple directing, and the production design is incredible to just create this incredible tense atmosphere on this ship. And the production design does literally more than 50% of all the suspense and tension. Not just the camera work, and obviously the alien is scary as fuck, the exomorph. And it's interesting what Ridley Scott was saying about this film. He very much didn't want to have wide shots on the alien because he basically didn't want to show like a guy in a rubber suit. You don't really get a big wide shot of the whole thing and see what the whole thing looks like in its entirety. So I think that was a really clever decision. It just makes the creature that more scary. So I'm going to go like 9.3, I think. So screenplay then, what did you think about the screenplay?
I mean, like, the story of the film is good, and everything we've just mentioned about the directing is good, and the pacing is good, and everything like that is good. And I do like that Ripley is quite an intelligent lead. She's very smart, always making the right calls. And I do like the, again, like the little twist, major twist, actually, that, Ash is really behind this, and he's like a secret, mole for the company, and they knew this was going to happen. This wasn't like a chance encounter. That was great. And I like, actually, at the beginning, where they're all just, like, joking around.
Yeah, you get a real sense of these guys have been together for a really long time.
I think one of my favourite lines is actually when they're joking around, and Brett is every time... Who's the black guy? Every time he says something, he's always like, that's right. And he's like, you always say, that's right, whenever he says something. He's like, that's right.
Yeah.
Right.
No, he just says right. From Harry Dean
I quite
Stanton.
like that. I thought it was...
Sadly passed away a few years ago.
I've seen him in lots of stuff. He's like in the background.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
I like that. I wish there was kind of maybe more of that.
What, more humour?
I don't know, just more like camaraderie, I suppose.
I think there was enough, to be honest. I think when the alien certainly arrives and in full form from the chestburster scene, they're basically all freaking out because these are not soldiers. These are just like commercial like workers, So they're all just trying to keep their shit together in their own way.
Just want to get the fuck out of here as quickly as possible.
Lambert's just really scared shitless and just doesn't know what to do. Parker is just really angry, just wants to kill it as immediately as possible. And you have Ripley, who's very much trying to keep everyone in control after like Ash dies, as well as trying to keep her emotions in check. And she's obviously got this whole thing with Ash. She's the only one that really suspects something is not right with him. Why is he letting them in? He's the science officer. He should know the quarantine rules. And it's just really interesting with like Ripley's journey in this film, because she certainly begins by like sticking by the rules. Doesn't let Kane in the ship. Ash lets them in anyway. And she puts herself forward for going into the air vents, but Dallas says, no, I'm doing it. And she's like, what are you doing? Clearly shouldn't be putting the captain in such a dangerous position, and Dallas ends up dying. But then she's just like, you know what, fuck it. We just need to do whatever we need to do to kill this alien, when she just decides to blow up the ship, which is completely not, along with the rules at all, which is certainly what is the starting point for the follow-up film Aliens.
Okay, so maybe I would just say, maybe what I'm trying to get at is like there are a few, but not as many like memorable lines. When you're saying like, oh, what's your favourite line? I'll have very few to pick from. Like a lot of it is very matter of fact.
Yeah.
There's shit going on, and let's talk about the shit that's going on. But they're not like standout lines. I can't think of anything like really funny or like really badass that anybody says.
She does say, I got you, you son of a bitch, So I think that was quite cool, to be fair. And they come back to that in Aliens, get away from her, you bitch, when she's in the loader.
I reckon actually that's probably a better line. I've seen a clip of that. I thought that was in this film and I was wrong. I think that was a better kind of badass line than anything in this film. It's not a major complaint. No. I'm just saying, like, this isn't like an epic quotable film, in my opinion. It's cool. It's really awesome. But, when we talk about, like, I don't know,
The Martian later.
Tarantino. Yeah. Well, like we'll talk about The Martian. So many good lines in The Martian. That film is very quotable.
But I mean, there is some interesting lines in this film still. I think when they re-plug in Ash, when they've like, you know, knocked his head off and they've, you know, turned him on again effectively, and he says, "Perfect organism. Its structural perfection is matched only by its hostility." And then Lambert just says, "You admire it." And then Ash says, "I admire its purity, a survivor, unclouded by conscience, remorse, or delusions of morality." And then he says, "I can't lie to you about your chances, but you have my sympathies." You know, and it's just a really creepy, you know, line there from Ash, and just ramps up the fear factor and dread about their situation that they're all in. Basically a fancy way of saying you're all going to die.
Leave it to a robot to be so indirect.
Pretty much.
But yeah, no, that was a good speech, yeah. Yeah, when we talk about favourite lines, probably that whole chunk is going to be it. But I would think that's the only one that really sticks out to me.
Not like the last monologue that Ripley does right at the end. I would say that's fairly iconic. Where she says, you know, at the end, "This is Ripley, the last survivor of the Nostromo, signing off."
Yeah. Yeah, it's all right.
That's actually the last bit in the outro I do on this podcast. Signing off. Anyway. But yeah, I'll read the whole thing out. It's quite cool for me, you know. "Final report of the Starship Nostromo. Third officer reporting. The other members of the crew, Kane, Lambert, Parker, Brett, Ash, and Captain Dallas are dead. Cargo and ship destroyed. I should reach the frontier in 6 weeks. With a little luck, the network will pick me up. This is Ripley, last survivor of the Nostromo, signing off." And then a lot of people assume that's actually the last line, but it's not. The last line is, "Come on, cat." You know, that was an ad lib by, you know, Sigourney Weaver. That wasn't in the script at all. She just says, "Come on, cat," you know, because she's cradling the cat at the end, which I thought was really sweet. But people assume it's, you know, Ripley signing off. You know, but it's not.
You've heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Set the record straight. Put that in your pub quiz.
But actually, my favourite line is actually from Yaphet Kotto, who sadly passed away like a month ago, I think, who plays Parker, and he says, after he like kills Ash, well, you know, basically destroys him, and he says, "It's a robot. Ash is a goddamn robot."
All right,
that's probably my favourite.
I think maybe
what's yours?
Ash's speech about, you know, "You have my sympathies." I think that's probably my favourite line. But yeah, I'm not going to lie to you. Yeah, most of it, I don't know. It just seemed, you know, it's lines that you expect a character to say, I suppose. So I don't know. Nothing else other than that really sticks out to me, to be honest with you. I think maybe this could be to do with the fact that there's not actually that much dialogue in it. Really?
No, which for me is a good thing.
Yeah, compared to most films
like this.
And I do agree, like, and I think it's good for this film. I don't think it makes it, as I said, like, there aren't so many lines that there are like a huge subsection to quote from as your favourite lines, like in many of the films we've talked about. But there are that makes up for it in just amazing shots and tension, which, you know, you obviously don't need dialogue to fill in that. It's a very visual film.
So what score are you going with?
Script, I'll probably go 7.8.
I get your point with the fact that there's not a lot of, like, you know, zingers of lines in this, but I think this, as you said, this film is very much going for a very simplistic script and, you know, rounded, realistic character reactions and motivations.
It's definitely, it's a script for film. Yeah. Like, this is it kind of utilizing the visual medium of its genre, so it's not, it's not a massively talky film. But.
You know, there are some complexities in here with, you know, the Ripley's own journey and her relationship to Ash and the conspiracy thing in there, and as well as the whole thing being incredibly simple, really. It's just like a survival horror. So I'm going to go like 8.4. Right, acting. I like the scene with like Ash and Ripley where Ripley interrupts Ash studying the facehugger, and he just looks really irritated from the moment Ripley arrives, and you know, he only gives her just as little information as possible. You know, and you certainly get the sense that in this moment there's something not right about Ash. He's definitely hiding something, and I quite like that little performance by Ian Holm there. And if you notice, at the end of that scene, Ash drinks a white substance like milk or something.
No, I didn't know.
If you notice that, you know.
Yeah. I also kind of like the subtleties of, like, whenever they're discussing about destroying it, he doesn't really kind of face them. He's like, there's one where they talk about it and he's kind of got his arms crossed and he's sort of looking away. It's like, he doesn't really feel comfortable with the discussion about destroying it, because that's not what he's here to do.
He's always got this uneasy, like, calmness about his persona that Ian Holm gives Ash, you know. He's never, like, really emotional like a robot would be, but he's just way too calm that feels comfortable.
It's like where stuff is going off the deep end, and you think everybody's freaking out except him. To him, it's like, oh, it's all going to plan now. You know, so there is a kind of it's a very uneasy. This could have all been solved, actually, had he not been there. When the thing bursts out of... I'm just saying, when the thing bursts out of... Even if they went to the planet, of John Hurt's chest, the other guy, is it Parker? He's going to stab it. He's going to stab it in its little face when it's, you know, tiny. And then Ash stops him. He's like, no! And that's the only time he kind of loses control. It's like, no, stop. And it goes off. You think,
yeah.
Son of a bitch. If you just ignored him, just stab it in its little face. Film over.
And I like the scene where Ripley is talking to Mother, and the more she reads about, like, what's going on, you know, about the special order, the more, like, her emotion starts to unravel, you know, about the science division has this special order to correct the alien specimen and the crew are expendable. And then when she reads that, she just, like, leans back in shock, and then it's revealed Ash is, like, right next to her.
Because there's a logical explanation for all this. You're like, get the...
Yeah, he says there's an explanation for this, you know. Just, like, ridiculously calm. And then Ripley just, like, freaks out and attacks her. And then Ian Holm, again, just has this weird calmness about him. You know, just a really strange look on his face. It's like he doesn't really know what just happened, or just doesn't know how to react. It's just a really... I guess the direction with that would just be like, you
don't know what's going on.
This is just not computing. You're just like, Ripley is just attacking you, and you're just like, what the hell is she doing? I've just said there's an explanation for this. He's probably just about to explain, and then you're just like, what? Why am I being attacked? This is ridiculous.
I think maybe it wasn't in his thing that they would ever find out. And it's like, then they find out, it's not in his program. So they find out, it's like, oh yeah, I can explain this. No, you cannot. There is no possible thing you can say that can explain this. It's like, oh, okay, I've been found out. What now? Yeah, I kind of went into this film when we're talking about acting. Like Sigourney Weaver, she's associated with this film. And I was kind of going to give it to her, because I was thinking, even going into this film, I know that she's very famous from this film. And she's really good in this film. And then the more I was watching it, I was really liking Ash. I was really liking his portrayal. I was like, wow, you know, I didn't sort of know that there was another character that was just... he does a really good job with it. He does a really good job making him just very eerie and very, very strange, you know. I was going to say, like, it's a shame he wasn't in it more, but I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Makes you know, it's a good thing. It's like, you're like, wow, he definitely leaves an impact. It's a shame he didn't, like, come back as, like, I need to watch the rest of them, but...
a very different performance to Lance Hendricks, who plays Bishop in Aliens. Just a very, very different performance, because he's not a villain in that film at all. You know, he's very much part of the crew. Yeah. So, is your favourite performance Ian Holm as Ash?
I think my favourite performance is Ian Holm as Ash. Yeah, it's just this kind of unease that sort of builds through the film about his character, and then you know how a lot of films have, like, you know, the monster villain and, like, the more humanistic villain. That would be him, but he kind of dies, like, halfway through, but still he leaves quite
an impact. My favourite performance is Ash as well, played by Ian Holm. I think he's brilliant. Followed closely by, you know, Sigourney Weaver, and as I said, my first proper watch of this at my birthday party was just an incredible experience, just not knowing anything. Literally, I knew nothing about this film, you know, and I just wish we as moviegoers can just watch more films like that, but I know it's quite impossible to do that. But with all the trailers and things that come with it these days, because they're just so hard to resist not to watch them. My dad always tells me, I was like, you shouldn't watch the trailers, just watch the film, you know.
It's so difficult. It's too tempting. I can't do that. I think you'd need to keep me in like a room with
prison
no windows and doors, yeah, basically in prison. Lock me up in prison for a couple months until the film comes out.
I think the only thing I would say to add on for acting is just the great jazz hands moment from the alien when Dallas dies. Jazz hands. That still scares me.
Yeah,
to be fair,
that was a great scene as well. I also think like Dallas is a bit just. As soon as he kind of showed up, I knew he was the captain.
Yeah.
You kind of get what I mean? He doesn't even have to be introduced as the captain. You're like, yeah, this guy's the captain.
It's the beard. I think it's the beard.
I think he did that well. I think it might be the beard.
It's a very commanding beard.
Very commanding beard. Like the Zeus, but not white,
So, score, Boaz, for you for acting.
Oh, man. 8.6 or something?
I like that score. That's a good score because, as we said, Ian Holm just has this weird... It's a very strange performance. It just... a lot of subtlety to it, and a lot of the expressions he makes just before he dies is just really odd in like a good way, and just his performance alone is really interesting, and all the others are just really compelling as well, just like freaking out in their own way, really. So I'll go like 8.6 as well, I think. It
kind of makes sense, like with his performance in retrospect, when you learn he's an android. You're like, that's why he's kind of like pretending to be a person.
Right, let's add up the scores then for Alien. Alien gets 51.7.
Oh my God, what? Martin, there's something behind you. There's something behind you.
Shut
up. I made you look. Oh my God.
Well, you know what my wardrobe's like. If you're a regular listener to this podcast, you'll know what I mean by that. But even though it is a joke.
Dresses. No, what was it? Was it skinned? Yes. Skinned women? What were we?
From skinned Silence women. The Lambs, which is still top of our leaderboard. That's it for part 1. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Check out part 2 to see who wins. But don't stop there. Get involved and tell me what your favourite films are relating to the episode. Send us a DM or comment on Instagram and TikTok at Film vs. Film Podcast. For X at FVF_podcast. Plus, we are now on YouTube, so hit that like button and comment there. If you do, I'll give you a shout out on the next episode. Remember, please leave us a 5-star review and subscribe. Pod signing off.